Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Jordan Bateman, Vice President of Communications and Marketing for the Independent Contractors and Business Association. His website, icba.ca in British Columbia. Welcome back to the show, Jordan.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
Well, Jordan, I know construction costs have a lot to do with the materials that you need, and one of the big materials, lumber. The prices skyrocketed. They dropped dramatically. Are they stable, or are they going up again?
No, I guess in British Columbia, the roller coaster is going up again when it comes to lumber prices. So you're right. You know, there was the shortage that occurred partly because of COVID pandemic. Supply chain issues, partly because of demand when the recovery started, especially in the States. So the prices skyrocketed. They had levels. They'd come back down, actually. Not quite to where they were before the big jump, but a long distance back. And now we're seeing the wildfires, the impact of those in British Columbia, where entire mills are being shut down. You know, there's a lot of, obviously a lot more attention being paid on the wildfire side, and that's causing futures to go up again. So we're not quite sure where it'll land, but yeah, the roller coaster is ticking up the hill yet again.
And really, there isn't much of an alternative to lumber, is there?
No, you're right. I mean, there's, you know, obviously concrete and steel is the most obvious one, but those have their own price pressures and are, you know, much more expensive on a per square foot basis. You know, lumber is the basic building block of a lot of what we build in British Columbia, especially, you know, low-rise townhouses, apartments, single-family houses. You know, it is that basic building block material. You know, if you think of construction like your kids' Lego sets, it's that, you know, little 4-dot piece. It's what you use for everything. So this is problematic, and it will impact construction prices at a time where affordability is already the number one issue in British Columbia, and especially in the Lower Mainland.
Also, the wildfires themselves, a danger to construction crews, but also that smoke, is that hurting construction, especially in the interior of British Columbia?
Yeah, it is something that all construction companies are having to address outside the Lower Mainland. I saw the BC Lions, you know, obviously a pretty high-profile organization. They've canceled 2 days of camps in Kamloops and are now coming home because of air quality. Yeah, it's something that workers are having to deal with. And, you know, it's unrelenting. That's really the message we hear from our members who are dealing with it, is it's just you never get that fresh day, that clear day. It's a big problem. So, yeah, everyone's dealing with it. Lots of safety precautions in place. Some folks wearing masks and, you know, other things, making sure that you're stopping to, you know, don't push yourself too hard and do all of that. But, you know, it's just yet another hurdle that the men and women working in construction have to overcome.
Another thing you have to overcome, I think, is so many city councils are reluctant or very slow to issue building permits. Any improvement on that front?
No, I wish. You're right. City councils continue to be very slow. We're even seeing very progressive cities, as far as development goes, like Surrey. They're starting to get bogged down in the bureaucracy. Not as bad as Vancouver, but it is starting to spread throughout the region. There's such a demand for housing. There's demand for new projects. Lots of them are going in, and the bureaucracy just can't seem to keep up with permitting and the regulations that, you know, generally well-meaning city councilors put on these things. Actually are hurting the very people they're trying to help. You know, it's very hard to make housing affordable if you're forcing developers to hang on to it for 2 or 3 years before they can actually start construction. Those holding costs all get passed on to the consumer at the end. So, expediting it would actually make things cheaper for the end user, but city council seem blind to that fact.
The coroner's office said over 500 people died under that heat dome that hit us in late June, and a lot of people have commented that their apartments are not wired to allow air conditioning to run without blowing the circuits. Is that going to change the way buildings are built here in BC, knowing that we're probably going to face 40-degree plus temperatures, not just in the interior?
Yeah, I think that's a conversation that needs to be had at all levels of government. First of all, how do we have enough electricity to power all these electric vehicles we want to have, plus all these air conditioners and other items to cool apartments? Do we have enough electricity even being generated in BC to power all that? And then, do we have enough power lines to get it to these neighborhoods safely? And then, is the actual infrastructure within the homes available in there? So it's a big problem. And this, actually couch this as a personal opinion here. It seems to me that Canada has spent a lot of time, energy, and money in trying to fight climate change. And really, our emissions are so minuscule on the global scale that what we do in that case doesn't really matter. And I do wonder if it's time now to forget about trying to spend money to prevent climate change, but instead spend that money investing things to mitigate the effects of climate change. It doesn't seem like our behavior is really inspiring the U.S. or China or India or the big polluters to change. So, if they're not going to change, I guess we better get ready for the future of, heat domes and high 30s heat. That means, making sure that you have the electrical infrastructure in place, making sure you're building up dikes along the rivers, especially in populated areas. Start doing the things to mitigate the impacts of climate change rather than trying to hope to prevent it. I know that will sound like a white flag for some people, like we're surrendering something, but just the numbers say that, what British Columbia does on a global scale as far as reducing greenhouse gas emissions, we could cease to exist. It would have no effect on the temperature going up. So we might as well start mitigating rather than trying to prevent.
Yeah, unless you get China and India on board, what difference is it going to make?
Well, that's exactly it. It's like taking a cup of water out of a swimming pool. If BC could be flawless in this, and we're still at the mercy of these other jurisdictions. And I just don't believe for a second that what British Columbia or Canada does is somehow inspiring or creating a moral obligation for these other community or other countries to act. If it had, they would have before now. So, time to protect the citizenry, time to protect taxpayers, and start thinking about, what that new world looks like and how best to ensure our health and safety going forward.
Yeah, like changing the regulations to make sure places are wired to take air conditioning. And it was the lack of air conditioning, I'm pretty sure, that killed all those seniors during the heat wave. Because Vancouver is still a place where 70% of homes don't have air conditioning.
Yeah, I bet it's even higher than that. I know the coroner's doing a look at this. We're looking forward to seeing those results. Certainly this was compounded by the fact that municipalities in general were very slow to reopen public facilities. So you didn't have cooler places like libraries or community centers where people could go and just, cool down a little bit. So, there's a lot of factors at play. But, yeah, I've read about long-term care homes, both public and private, that, don't have proper air conditioning. Those folks, had air coming out of their vents that was, 95 degrees Fahrenheit, in the mid to high 30s. That is not good. So we got to do better. We got to figure this out because I feel like the hot weather is here to stay every summer.
And I just saw a thing on Twitter. People with Teslas are waiting 2.5 hours to charge up their cars in hope if they can find a charging station.
Yeah, that's not a surprise either. So we have a plug-in hybrid vehicle, which is kind of the best of both worlds, right? Because you can plug in, get a certain range of kilometers out of your charge, but you also have the backup of gasoline. And where gasoline is still a little bit ahead of electricity and convenience is, the recharge, quote unquote, is so fast. You go to a gas station, you fill up, you're gone within 2 minutes, and you're ready to go for another 500 or 600 kilometers. You don't get that with charging stations. Even the fast ones seem like it take a couple hours to recharge your car fully. That's going to be a problem in a place like Hope, where people are stopping if they're coming especially from Squamish or West Side Vancouver, stopping in Hope, wanting to recharge before they head up to Kelowna, they're going to have to spend some time there. So maybe it's a big marketing opportunity for Hope. Maybe they should have huge banks of these chargers and, force people to get out of their cars and visit their town and shop in their shops and eat in their restaurants. There's probably some opportunity there, but again, it comes down to infrastructure. Can you actually power all of these charging stations that are necessary? Who's going to pay for them? And, how do you make sure that folks know about them? So, yeah, that doesn't surprise me that Hope is becoming overrun with people needing charging stations.
We'll have more with Jordan Bateman right after this.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlin, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Jordan Bateman. Jordan, it seems like it's no secret that Justin Trudeau wants to call an election this fall. What would you like our federal politicians to say and do going into a most likely election campaign?
Well, there are a couple of things. First of all, we need a proper economic recovery plan. And, coming out of COVID, how is Canada going to perform economically? How do we attract more investment? How do we cut red tape to attract more people to invest in jobs and businesses here? And also, how do we restore the faith of that entrepreneur class that have just been so badly burned by the COVID shutdowns? So, you think of the restaurateurs who went out of business. You think of, small retail shops that went under. While Amazon thrived and, while Walmart's just fine, these little businesses took a beating because of public health rules. And, I fear that the idea of, opening your own business, creating your own shop, that entrepreneur class might have been scared away or permanently scarred by this experience. So what is government going to do to encourage those people to come back and to create the shops and stores that make our community so great, but also to create the jobs that support the families and really power the economy in a major way?
Yes, I'm thinking of all the people who just opened businesses before things were shut down. They had to prove that they'd lost so much money over a certain period of time. They had no track record, so they got no aid. Was that a poorly thought out policy?
Yeah, and it was one that, it took a long time to get them to remedy. And by the time they did fix it, probably too late for a lot of those folks. Tens of thousands of businesses went under. And each of those businesses are attached to a small business owner, someone who put their hopes and dreams and invested a lot of money and often, personal money, even liens on their house in order to get going. And they went out of business not because they offered bad products or in a bad location or anything like that or offered bad service. They went out of business because government shut businesses down to fight COVID. And yeah, there's community responsibility, you need social responsibility, and we all understand that, and those folks did it. But, that it was a cost to them. And, in this COVID recession, there are some people who paid a lot more than others. A lot of government workers were just fine. A lot of white collar office workers were okay. But a lot of, other people who didn't have the ability to work from home, who saw jobs disappear, who saw, restaurants close for big chunks of time, they suffered more. And, we need to restore faith, the faith of those people somehow. And we need to make sure that, we learn lessons from this experience and, and help restore that entrepreneur economy.
Federal government money's been promised for the Surrey to Langley SkyTrain line. Any other talk about rapid transit expansion in British Columbia?
No, not really. I mean, every once in a while you'll hear them kind of talk about connecting Vancouver to Seattle and Portland via high-speed train, but now, kind of the big projects appear to have been funded, right? You have the UBC subway, it's underway, the Pattullo Bridge is underway, although not a transit project, and then you have this money in place to take SkyTrain to Langley. It's a great question. What is the next step? Like, how can you get can you get a train to go to Abbotsford and then to Chilliwack? Could you connect somehow the North Shore better? That will be an interesting discussion, probably post this 2022 municipal elections. There'll be a new TransLink board, a new council of mayors. They're going to have to go to the drawing board and think about, okay, we're now wandering down the street of this 10-year plan. What should be in the next 10-year plan? Is it, something to replace C-Bus? Is it, what exactly is it that would be important to add to the region?
Well, back in the 80s, the Ontario Pension Fund had a plan to run a rapid transit line from Main Street, Vancouver, over to Lonsdale Quay, and the municipalities nixed that idea, even though they didn't have to pay a penny.
Oh, I didn't know that. But man, that's short-sighted. Oh boy.
Yeah, and they said the soil dug out, they could put new islands in Cole Harbour and help fund the line by building condo towers there. They had it all planned out.
Oh, I had no idea.
Well,
crazy.
Yes. So they turned down free public transit.
They turned down free public transit. Kind of reminds me of when Greg Kerfoot wanted to build his stadium over the rail lines, and they turned down a free stadium. Sometimes politicians and activists are too smart for their own good, I guess.
Yeah, they're worried about building it over train lines. Madison Square Gardens in New York is built over train lines. So, yeah, there's no problem building stadiums over trains. Jordan, anything else you'd like to bring up before we go?
Yeah, just that ICBA, after 25 years of being located in Burnaby, we're moving offices over the BC Day long weekend to our new digs in Surrey. We've purchased the 8th floor of a brand new building, Central City 3, which is right across the street from Surrey Memorial Hospital and about a 6-minute walk from King George SkyTrain Station. Redeveloping neighborhood. They call this the Health and Technology District. ICBA obviously, has a major group benefits health insurance platform. We actually insure take care of about 100,000 Canadians through our group health benefits. So being part of this is pretty exciting for us, although I gotta admit, Jim, my office is a disaster. I'm, working out of bins for these few days, and I'll be looking forward to settling into the new place, that's for sure.
Jordan, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thanks for having me.
My guest has been Jordan Bateman, Vice President of Communications and Marketing for the Independent Contractors and Business Association. His website, icba.ca. And Jordan, you're still looking for lots of tradespeople, right?
Yep, go to icba.ca/jobs to drop off a resume.
If you have any questions for Jordan or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Find us on Twitter at Talk Digital Net. We're also on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of Howe Street Media Incorporated.